All right, folks, let's talk Dune Part 2. Full spoilers. You can, of course, check out my non spoiler review on the channel already, but here we are talking spoilers for Dune Part 2. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll give you a chance to click off the video and then, of course, come back after you've seen the movie. But while you're doing that, I do want to just, release an official public statement. No, I did not get the Dune popcorn bucket from AMC. Unfortunately, I would love to have one, and I'm hoping I still can get one. Not to do the things that people, it looks like you can do to it, but just for the memes, the collectability. But I do not live anywhere near an AMC theater. The closest one is like 2 hours away, so not easy for me to go and just get one. I'm hoping they start selling them online on the website. If they do, and it doesn't sell out in like 2 seconds, I'm gonna try and get one for myself. But at least for now, you know, I don't have one. But hopefully, fingers crossed. It's honestly hilarious. Like it actually looks like it's a good popcorn bucket. I mean, with the sandworm part, like not really, but I mean it's a good decent size for collectability, all that stuff. That's pretty cool. Plus, I mean, even Saturday Night Live made a song about it. Like I gotta have one at some point. So there's that. Hopefully, if you're still watching this video, you have now seen Dune Part 2 and you are ready to talk full spoilers. You can let me know your own spoiler thoughts, comments, reviews in the comments below as well. But I just want to start off by talking about Paul Atreides. This guy, man. I talked about my non-spoiler review how I just watched Dune Part 1 for the first time a couple days ago. And I didn't love it. And Paul was, well, one of my complaints with the first movie was that, like, it's got a great cast and there's a lot of characters, but most of them get little to no screen time for the most part. Except for Timothy Chalamet. He's the star of that movie. His character's on screen the whole time, but it didn't particularly make me care for the character. I mean, I felt bad that like his father died and like all that stuff, but I didn't really care for Paul Atreides. But here, Paul goes on such a character arc. And it was interesting because I just watched Wonka recently. And so that's actually, I think, don't hate me, guys, but I'm pretty sure Wonka is the first movie I've ever. No, no. Well, first movie where Timothy Chalamet is starring in it. Only other Timothy Chalamet movie I've seen is Love the Coopers, and which, by the way, great Christmas movie. But he's got a small part in it. So Wonka is basically my experience with Timothy Chalamet. That, along with, of course, his rapping videos from when he was in high school. Good old Timmy T. But so that's my experience with Timothy Chalamet is Wonka. So I was very pleased to see a very completely different side of Timothy Chalamet in his acting chops here in this film. But speaking of Wonka, actually, a little fun fact here. Most movie theaters are still playing Wonka right now, so we got two Timothy Chalamet films in theaters at the same time, which, this is where the fun fact comes in. A couple years ago, when Dune Part 1 came out, it was the same situation because The French Dispatch was also out. So whenever we get a new Dune movie, there's probably going to be another Timothy Chalamet movie playing at the same time in theaters as well. So a little fun fact for you. But yeah, basically, Timothy Chalamet, Paul Atreides in this movie, he goes on his Anakin Skywalker arc. That is the best comparison that I have seen, and that makes me love it all the more just hearing that because I'm a big fan of the Star Wars prequels, particularly of Anakin Skywalker. I love that character. I love Hayden Christensen in the role. Seeing him back in Ahsoka was fantastic. But yeah, he goes down a dark path here. Some people on Twitter are still saying he's a hero, but nah, this is a bad dude. But you get to see him go on that arc. You start off the movie, and really the first hour of this film is just him kind of learning the ways of the Fremen, and of course also falling in love with Zendaya's character, which was one of my favorite parts of this because I'm a big rom-com guy. I love a good love story and romance and all that stuff. So I was excited to and pleasantly surprised to see that so well done here because it's already foreshadowed through the visions of the first film that like they're gonna get together, but especially at the beginning of this movie, like she acted like she did not like him at all. So I was like not vibing with it, but then man, Timmy T was spitting Riz for sure. Um, there were actually like moments throughout this film where I legitimately said out loud like, "Oh, the Riz." So yeah, the Riz was on point here, and clearly it worked out pretty well for both of them. So that was good. Well, at least at the beginning of the movie. So happy for them for now. But then Paul he goes on his Anakin Skywalker arc, and he gets corrupted into that darkness. You've got this whole prophecy that is going on here, and really the big question here is Paul the Messiah or is he not? I feel like that's kind of open to interpretation for us film viewers, but definitely in this film, it sets it up like there's way too many coincidences for him to not be, but obviously it could just be a coincidence, all of these things from the prophecy coming true. But that was one of my favorite parts, though, was Javier Bardem's character Stilgar. He was hilarious in this movie, but he was great because he was like the best hype man ever for Paul, basically. But Paul, just like his mother, drank the water of life from the liquids from the sandworms, which looked disgusting. And we'll talk about his mom in a second, but yeah, so he drank that stuff that made him go even crazier. And also, I think another thing that this has to do with is their bloodline, because you saw after his mother, of course, played by Rebecca Ferguson, Lady Jessica, after she drank the blue stuff, she went darker and got more aggressive and more violent as well. And that's, I think, part in due because of we get the reveal that she is the daughter of the Baron. So they are Harkonnens, technically. So that, I mean, we see with the Harkonnens, they have a lust for violence. So I think that is kind of what leans into this because Paul is really a combination of everything. Not only is he with from his mother, as in the first movie the big thing was, oh, okay, so he's got the power and he's the son of the Duke and he's got all this royalty and he's like a space prince from his father, but then from his mother he has these really cool superpowers as well. But then we find out here on top of that he's also related through blood to the Harkonnens. So it's just this really deadly combo and just recipe for disaster. So yeah, he gets dark, he gets violent, and he kind of gives into this whole Messiah thing, and he starts leading. And again, Timothy Chalamet's performance was great, fantastic. Rebecca Ferguson also great as well. I was really surprised with her character because I didn't really care for her in the first film either, but she really got interesting, and I saw somebody call her the Karen of space. That's kind of what she's like here. But then at the end of the movie, when Paul he defeats Floyd Rafa and he wants to be the emperor. He wants to take up the throne, and just Christopher Walken's character kneeling and kissing the ring and doing all that stuff, like Paul won. And then he's going to take Florence Pugh's character's hand in marriage, which is crazy. Because, he gives up Zendaya for that, which, man, I mean, what a tough choice right there. Like, Zendaya or Florence Pugh? That is a tough choice. Two of my biggest celebrity crushes, although I am going to be completely honest, I don't blame him. I think Florence Pugh would top Zendaya for me. That's just my personal choice. And I know obviously in the movie, it's for other reasons, political reasons, but yeah, I'd pick Florence Pugh. But both great choices. So yeah, there's that. And then Zendaya, man, honestly, might be the best character and best performance in this film. Because it's towards the end when Paul is taking that turn and she's she's the only one that really sees the truth. There's so many moments in this film, again, towards the end, where it's just the eyes. You can see it in her eyes. All of the acting she's doing is in her eyes, and it's just so, so powerful. So I really, really love that. Now let's talk about the Harkonnens themselves, because they were really interesting in this film. I loved kind of getting to expand on that lore, actually seeing their planet and seeing the sun that made everything black and white. That was really cool. Also kind of a metaphor for how those characters and that species kind of they see everything in black and white. Also pretty obvious as to why their skin is so pale, because their sun looks like that. Um, but Stellan Skarsgård, of course, was great again as the Baron. Really interesting because just a couple days ago I rewatched Good Will Hunting, so seeing him in comparison from that movie to this, very different. Also, he said that it was like 8 hours in the makeup chair for that. Wow, that's a lot, but it paid off. Dave Bautista was good. A lot of people are complaining that he was just like screaming and yelling this whole time, and it's just like Drax, but with pale skin. And in a way, yeah, but I do feel like there's more subtleties to his performance as well. But really, when it comes to the Harkonnens, the standout, of course, is our new addition with Austin Butler as Foyd Rafa. Wow, just phenomenal. Such a deranged, psychotic character. I mentioned this in my non-spoiler review. I love how he finally broke the Elvis voice, but not only that, he was basically doing kind of an impression of Stellan Skarsgård in that accent. So it really gave an accent to the Harkonnens, and I think that worked out really well, and also just made him all the more terrifying. But we got some great action scenes with this character, absolutely fantastic, especially the final battle between him and Paul. That was great to see. Action just across the board is fantastic in this film. I loved everything with the sandworms, riding the sandworms. That was awesome. Definitely a lot of fun for sure. Let's see. You've also got, like I said, Florence Pugh in here as well. She has a bit of a smaller role for sure, but where she is here, great. And also kind of going back to the Harkonnens as well. One thing I was really, looking forward to this film, with when it comes to theorizing, I was like, oh, who's gonna die? Because that was a big thing in the first movie. Like a lot of characters died. Oscar Isaac, Jason Momoa. A lot of characters died, so I was theorizing like who's gonna die here. None of our heroes died. It was, well, if you can call them heroes, but it was all the villains. It was just the Harkonnens, all three of them. They got dead. Again, Paul showing his ruthlessness with taking out the Baron and just being like, "Hello, grandfather," and then just stabbing him in the neck. That was great. Yeah, so Foyd Rafa dies as well, but as we know, his offspring is on the way because he got that woman pregnant, which that whole thing was real disturbing, but really cool. Just the world building here is so cool, so fun. The metaphors with religion, there's a lot of religion stuff going on here, and faith-based concepts, which is just fantastic. The way that's all explained and displayed is really awesome. Um, and we also have Anya Taylor-Joy as well with a quick little cameo. Really more of a setup for the third movie, Dune Messiah. But we do get her appearing as Paul's sister, who it was weird, but weird in a cool way. Rebecca Ferguson's character talking to her in the womb. But then, of course, we get that flash to the future as well. But man, just fantastic. Really, just really great. And I again, a couple days ago, after watching just the first Dune movie, I didn't have a whole lot of love for this franchise. But now watching Dune Part 2, I'm highly invested. I'm so excited for Dune 3, Dune Messiah, whenever that does eventually end up coming. But man, I'm excited. This was a great film. As most people are saying, it's like one of the best sci-fi movies ever, one of the best movies of the last 20 years. Definitely the best movie of 2024 so far, but to be fair, it's only March. But man, I had a great time with this, and gets me all the more excited to hopefully get that Dune popcorn bucket at some point. but yeah, I really enjoyed this. This was a great movie. So, guys, of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Spoiler comments, anything you want to say about Dune Part 2, let me know in the comments below. And I guess that's going to do it for this review. Of course, check out my non-spoiler review again if you haven't already. Talk about some other stuff there. So, spice it up, do non-spoiler and spoiler. But yeah, so that's going to have to do it for this video, this review. Thank you so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so I keep up to date on everything goes on in the movie life.